Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Peter Jennings, and I go by CSURAM88 across the daily fantasy industry, and I'm stoked to be back at FantasyLabs reviewing lineups for Week 9 here. Taking a look at the ownership dashboard first, and got some feedback that this would be cool to look into. So, wanted to take a look at who had the highest GPP grades, basically the players that had the biggest difference in terms of their ownership at high stakes versus the low stakes. Some sharp plays overall came in as the highest GPP grade. Michael Thomas, who ended up not having a big game, but could have, and certainly set up well. Just a bad game flow there for Thomas and the pass catchers for the Saints. Zeke came in next, and Todd Gurley, both really sharp plays. I had a lot of exposure to both. T.Y. Hilton, Dez Bryant, Trey Burton, Drew Brees. Then Kareem Hunt came in pretty high, and I imagine that's a lot of the high-stakes guys swapping away from Zeke as well. Mark Ingram, Carlos Hyde, Tyreek Hill. You can start seeing some of these names here. So overall, really interesting week in terms of how stuff broke down. I wanted to kind of highlight these top-end guys up front. Some other guys that stood out to me that I thought were interesting just in terms of ownership. Jack Doyle, certainly. Tyreek Hill, another one. And just in general, some really interesting spots here overall. You can see my leverage based on my tournament teams. So I thought this was cool. Definitely really important to review ownership and look through contests. And we'll take a look here at my lineups as well. So first contest we always review is a three-man between Bales, Levitan, and I. This is my main team. I'm a little bitter. This team would have qualified in the Mega Qualifier and also would have qualified in the Black Free Roll. And, of course, I didn't put my Cash Game team in those contests. Cost myself a seat. But happy to take down this three-man with Bales and Levitan. I went with Drew Brees. The total really went crazy for the Saints at the end. I thought he was a clear play. The game total got up to, I believe, 55. Implied total for the Saints around 31, over 30, and just a really, really good spot for the Saints overall. I thought they were going to have more success passing, and I thought it was going to be a bit more of a struggle running the football, so feel good about the process with Brees. Zeke was a total lock for me across the industry. Didn't quite get to the 100-yard bonus and didn't catch any passes, but did get a touchdown. Wasn't a great game. Didn't meet value, but didn't kill you either. Kamara was huge for me today. Really was fortunate that he had 2 touchdowns. This is kind of the game that I've been talking about. I've been playing Kamara basically every week. Talked about him as my conviction play on the DFS Edge podcast, and finally got that big game from Kamara. I was fortunate to have a lot of exposure to him and really led to kind of a good weekend overall. I went Doug Baldwin, who I originally didn't have, but then the news of Ertz allowed me to get Doug Baldwin. Went with Doug Baldwin, Dez Bryant, who ended up not having a huge game. Could have definitely been a really good game if he gets a touchdown or goes over 100 yards. T.Y. Hilton, who was just way too cheap on DraftKings. Jack Doyle, Trey Burton, and the Broncos defense. The Broncos defense looked really bad. Got a sack fumble touchdown to kind of salvage a decent performance here. Bale's team, pretty similar, except went with Buck Allen and Mark Ingram. Also had Marquise Lee, Trey Burton, Zeke, and Texans defense. Really sharp team overall from Bales. I had a lot of Marquise Lee in tournaments as well. I thought that was pretty sharp. Buck Allen was interesting. Got that last receiving touchdown. Definitely a good option as a pass-catching running back. Levitan went with Dak, Zeke, Gurley, Dez, T.Y. Hilton, Michael Thomas, Burton, and then went cheap with Demarcus Robinson. I actually liked on DraftKings and the Colts defense. So just 3 straight punts to open up the rest to get Dak, Zeke, Gurley, Dez, T.Y., and Thomas. Really sharp team overall from Levitan, and love the process here. A really sharp player, obviously, and who is really helpful. Levitan's always on the ball. You can see here in the 50-50s just the ownership. I got Kamara and Baldwin super low owned, as well as the Broncos D. The rest was really chalk. Baldwin I got onto at the last minute with this combination. I really thought he was a good play too, given that everyone was going to be on the other Seattle guys, and I thought Baldwin had a lot of equity at that price. A little overpriced relative to some of the other guys, but I thought the combo made sense. Kamara I was much higher on than the field, just in general. I know a lot of people are on Ingram. I've been on Kamara for a while, and fortunately that just paid dividends here. So can see here, this is a 2K 50-50. This is a really sharp field, and you can see the ownership percentages here from my cash game team. Taking a look at the Thunderdome, I went with the Saints onslaught here. Drew Brees, Ginn, Thomas, and Kamara running it back with Deshaun Jackson. Fortunately, Deshaun Jackson did not get there. Had Trey Burton, T.Y. Hilton, Broncos defense, and Ezekiel Elliott. So overall, pretty happy with this team. I thought the Saints onslaught made a lot of sense. Would have been nice to run the Saints defense over the Broncos defense, but did want to fit the rest of these guys. I thought the correlation here was really good, and was pretty happy with this team. Let's take a look at the winning team. DJ Strokes, Jacoby Brissett, Todd Gurley, Adrian Peterson, Des Bryant, Tyreek, who had that incredible play to end the first half, T.Y. Hilton, who was 64%, Doyle, Ted Ginn Jr., and the Jaguars D. Only comment here is Ted Ginn should be the receiver in here, and you should have moved Dez or Tyreek to the flex. But overall, good team. Adrian Peterson had a huge game. I wasn't on Adrian Peterson, and I was wrong about that. So the most frustrating part of the day for me was just the cash game team would have cashed here. Here are the three teams I ran. I had a really good shot here, and I actually pivoted away from Carlos Hyde to Jimmy Graham, which I'm also kicking myself for because that would have been enough to qualify as well. So brutal day chasing these Qs. Goff, Zeke, Gurley, Kupp, Lee, Woods, Ingram, Graham, Jaguars. So basically a game stack here with the Rams. Felt really sharp to get on, or felt good to get on them. In general, if I play Sammy Watkins over Cooper Kupp, I'm right there as well. So really thought the process was good here. Had Marquise Lee with the Jaguars D, Evan Ingram running it back, and just couldn't quite get there with this squad. This is the same team that I ran in the Thunderdome, and then I ran an Alex Smith stack that originally was a Dak Prescott stack that I had to pivot around just because I thought I was in trouble given where I was. So pretty happy with my process here. Three good teams, just not quite enough to get into the top 8. Going to take a look at Udako, who's one of the best players in the industry. Dak, Gurley, Hyde, Dez, Funchess, T.Y., Kelsey, Terrence Williams ended up being huge. 9 catches, 141 yards, and the Eagles defense. Also want to shout out Al Smizzle, who I do the DFS Hedge Pod with. Similar concept to Udako. Dak with Dez and Terrence Williams. Had Gurley and Kamara, Michael Thomas, Burton, Evan Ingram, and Seahawks D. So congrats to Smiz. Congrats to everyone here who qualified for the DraftKings World Championship. I thought it was a really interesting week. Was fortunate, like I mentioned, with Kamara. Wish I would have had my cash game team in more contests, but overall can't complain when you have a good week. So excited to move on to week 10. Hopefully we can nail some picks again, and I hope the process of going through these lineups as well as the ownership dashboard was helpful for you guys. Good luck this week, and looking forward to getting back on the grind.